Okay, so we'll just start by introducing ourselves. Millie, Chen. Arzu, Ozkal.
And Baran, Ehsaei.
So, we'll check this out. So we're really lucky to have Arzu and Baran join us today. Arzu's coming from San Diego and Baran is coming from LA. Both just arrived yesterday. We've never met this one in the flesh, so this is the first time in the 3 years since we've worked together. So that's the nature. But that's kind of symbolic of the nature of this project. Okay, who's starting?
I think you're going to do the preview first.
Oh, sorry. So wanted to start with that preview because it's kind of encapsulates the project and hopefully sets a nice tone for the rest of the talk. So we need to thank, first of all, the wonderful people at Hallwalls for believing in us and the project. John, for your vision for how to disrupt the Pentagon, which you'll see, we'll show that later. But inviting us into the space, and I'm very grateful for that. And to Kate Gowdy and Tammy McGovern. Tammy, I didn't know your last name until just now. Tammy McGovern, for all the amazing work you did to help us realize the show. We also want to thank our collaborators in China, Turkey, Uzbekistan, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, Canada, and the US. We began SRS Silk Road Songbook project in 2017, and it's been a long, arduous journey, but joyful at times too. It's due to the passionate and intrepid commitment and hard work of everyone involved that we've been able to complete it. And really a lot of it was done via Zoom from starting in 2020, really right through until the last production.
SRS, Silk Road Songbook, is a socially driven, interdisciplinary, multilingual project that weaves songs of descent into the land, broadcasting distinct, unruly voices on an ancient Euro-Asian migration route, while challenging Orientalist exoticism, cultural tourism, and censorship. The songs were generated by collaborators who live in and between Istanbul, Tehran, Tashkent, Kashgar, and Xi'an. For each place, women's voices are the dynamic driving force, and the land is the visual anchor. Songs become a ready vehicle for voices that aren't usually heard. Singing builds fortitude. Singing together builds collective joy and strength.
This shows the 5 sites that we worked with. So Istanbul and Chubar, which is north of Tehran, Parkent, which is close to Tashkent in Uzbekistan, and Isyk-Kul, which is a mountain elevated lake in Kyrgyzstan, and Gansu province, a small agricultural community called Kanlı, quite a distance from Xi'an actually. So, so we each have personal connections to the project. Firstly, we share a commitment to social justice with our respective art practices. Secondly, Arzu and I harnessed our respective ancestries and migration stories to geographically tether the project route, forming an itinerary that is at once historically and personally significant. Our intent is to challenge the grand, tidy narrative of the popular perception of Silk Road by conveying the complexity of the stories that emerge from each place and each person who is working with us. So this was shot as part of our research trips that lasted. We did probably about 5 research trips throughout 2017 to, until the pandemic shut everything down. Silk Road is the popular but misleading name of the network of trade routes that are commonly perceived as being simply a conveyor of material goods such as silk and spice from Asia to Europe, assumed to have run its course centuries ago. Quoting historian Valerie Hansen and novelist Madeleine Tien, okay, all right, this is the book that is just hot off the press. There are 40,000 documents in multiple languages preserved in the library cave at Dunhuang, which was sealed sometime after 1002 and serves as a time capsule of Silk Road diversity. The Buddhist librarian monks who saved the text collected the teachings of their own religion, of course, but kept all scraps of paper in case they might prove useful in the future. That is Valerie Hansen from her book, The Silk Road, A New History. These include, quote, and the next quote is from Madeleine Tien's book, Do Not Say We Have Nothing. These include a tantric instruction manual in the Uyghur alphabet, a past due bill for a camel, ballads, inventories, circulars, and donations, a letter to a husband that reads, I would rather be a pig's wife than yours. Astronomical maps, board game instructions, a guest apology for getting drunk and behaving badly, a poem for a beloved donkey, end quote. They save texts written in Sanskrit, Khotanese, Tibetan, Uyghur, and Sogdian, and from the religions of Manichaeism, Zoroastrianism, Christianity, Judaism, and Buddhism. The entire cave embodies the tolerance of different religions that characterize Silk Road communities for nearly 1,000 years, end quote.
More impacting than the movement of material goods on the Silk Routes was the transmission of culture, beliefs, ideas, and knowledge, and new technologies. Again from Valerie Hansen, refugees, artists, craftsmen, missionaries, robbers, and envoys all made their way along these routes. Sometimes they resorted to trade, but that was not their primary purpose in traveling. The most important and the most influential people moving along the Silk Road were refugees. Waves of immigrants brought technologies with them from their homeland and then practiced those skills in their new homes. The frequent migrations of people fleeing either war or political conflicts in their homelands meant that some technologies moved east, others west. Itinerant artists also moved along these routes, bringing sketchbooks and introducing motifs from their homelands.
So the project consists of an immersive multi-screen audio-video installation, which is upstairs, and a Songbook publication there, which is for sale upstairs. Only $15. This, what you're looking at, is what we use to communicate with our collaborators along the Silk Road. So this is a storyboard. So just trying to detail the movements so that when it's all seen together, it would flow into one another. And here's a little sampling of the time chart that we had to devise in order to make sure that each song had its own respected space, time during the run. It's a 22-minute loop, so during the run of the entire videos. Across the installation, video projections of visual. Oh, here, let me go to this one first. Okay, so before I keep reading, this is the original design, which will be one day a pentagon, and you're more corralled in, I suppose, as a viewer, and it really, I mean, it is a credit to John Massier, for sure, that we blew it open, because we never considered it until I started talking to John about showing here, and it's a happy thing, because it's good to disrupt your kind of plans and adapt. And this is still something we'd like to realize in the future, but the way that you'll see, if you haven't been in yet, the way that it is installed now, it moves you through more of a maze, and you're not in an enclosure.
May I say something?
Of course.
And what we have upstairs really works with what we have in the book as a concept too, because the book is really to disorient the reader, not knowing which language you're looking at, which country you are reading about. So it's really like once you read the English introduction, the book is designed to get lost. I don't get to see it. They have to see it upstairs.
Arzu said you have to see it upstairs. Okay, all right. We don't have
You
a.
can't see it.
Yeah, it'll be tiny. Okay, so the concept though is the same in terms of how we were hoping to move the viewer through. So there's a visual thread that's woven through all the sites that form the horizon line of the installation. So when we asked each team to get ready for their production, we provided a horizon line that we were hoping would then run through all of the screens. So it's a visual thread, and it connects different places as coexisting within a commonality and continuity of space within the installation. There's also an oral thread. So this one is across all the places and sourced from natural elements from each place. So you have the songs, but we also wanted an audio thread that would connect them all, and that was from the land, of course. They were all performing on the land. So it's a shared sound of the land that forms an atmospheric, what we call a sixth voice. So it's a voice that carries the wind, water, rustling grass, insects, birds, thunder. Listen to the land, it's the oldest storyteller. So cast as seeds in 2017, the network of SRS collaborators and supporters sprouted and grew and spread over 7 years as we undertook research trips. We ran workshops and mounted test installations. And we met with numerous people across 3 continents, so not just artists, but and not just musicians, but also ethnomusicologists, cultural theorists, curators, etc. Despite bouts of pessimism that SRS would ever be realized. We persisted through numerous challenges, including, of course, a global pandemic, lots of territorial restrictions, never was able to get Arzu to China, for instance, travel bans, etc. Lots of dismaying obstructions, our many efforts to work with Uyghur groups through the years and never happened, so we had to pivot. Okay.
And working on SRS during the global pandemic and escalating political tensions reinforces the world's porosity. We share everything. We are susceptible to all distant events, even if we don't travel, migrate, or venture out of our comfort zones. We affect one another profoundly and intimately, exchanging stories with those who are far away or lived long ago. It is through creative collaboration with others that we can tell not only their stories, but also our own. And we are so happy that Baran is here tonight to tell her creative journey with this project.
First of all, I'm so honored and grateful to be here with you all, and so lucky that I could be the one who represents the chapter in Iran. Like, just thinking about all the options, like all the artists that could have been on the screen, and it's me, it's like, what? I first heard about this project, sorry about that, I'm gonna do that again, through a family friend who heard about Arzu doing this in San Diego, another professor who knew my friend. It's just like link, 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 that they were looking for a musician in Iran who is willing to participate in such project. And when I heard about it, I was like, what? Yes! It's so necessary and so awesome. The only thing was that I was moving from my country in about like 2 months at that time. And I was like, am I actually gonna be able to do this? We'll see. So I said yes, we started meeting on Zoom, and things got rolling very quickly. The first thing was the location. So I wanted it to be green. I knew that a lot of people think of Iran as this deserty place, and I really wanted to represent all the different things we had, like this beautiful scene. It's a very diverse nature. Actually, it goes from like mountains, a very cold environment in the northwest, to very hot, humid environment in the south, and this was in the north. And I started doing some research, took some pictures, sent them to Arzu and Millie, and they were really happy with them. And then I started actually thinking about the logistics of singing in a public space with instruments. I don't know if you know, but women can't really sing solo in Iran. So it was kind of just a little scary. I was like, I don't think I can hire a security group to like, yeah, it was just a little overwhelming. And I was just talking to my parents about it, and they mentioned our house in the north. They were like, why don't you record there? I was like, oh, that's actually a great idea. You know that feeling of like looking for something and it's just in front of you? I felt like that at that moment. I was like, wow, this house has so much history personally in our family. My father actually, with his friends, built a whole building that consists of 4 apartments, and they were all artists. And we would go there every year. We would dance, we would play games, we would just have the best food ever. And it just like thinking about it made me happy. I was like, yes, this might actually work. And when I shared it with Arzu and Millie, they supported it, and we started packing the car the next day, including a double waist. That was fun. Not. Yeah, there were just the three of us doing all the things, mostly because we were in such a packed timeline. I was moving from the country. When we recorded this, a month after this, I said bye to everything. So it was like, we have this one shot, and you're gonna get it or not? Like, ah! So it worked out, and I'm so amazed that it did. So yeah, we went to the north, and we started doing some more research on the options that we had. So this is the field underneath, or like the building that we have is like here on the hill, and this is the field in front of it. We had some more options, we did some research, and all of a sudden I felt very ill. They called it traveler's parasite back then, but my body was like, no, you're not doing anything. So I was like really, really sad, really thinking if I'd be able to actually make this happen. So then we decided to just go with the easiest route, which really, really worked out, because the mountain, and I was just watching it upstairs, and I felt like the mountain is just one mountain. Like, you don't know the location of the video, you can just think, oh, this can be anywhere. So magical. And yeah, as I was trying to gather my energy and find the source of power to sing, we started researching on some poems. I knew that I wanted to have the voice of a poet that is no longer, how can I say this, very revolutionary. There is a lot of poets that published their work before the revolution, and after the revolution, nothing exists from them. They all got banned, and their books no longer exist. Like, if your grandparents have a version of that book, yeah, that's the only place you can find it. So I wanted to have a poem like that, because of just representing the voice of those people, those great artists. And we came upon this beautiful poem by Reza Baran, who got exiled from his country, Iran, in the 70s, and moved to Canada and died there. And yeah, as I was just kind of looking through the internet, because again, I don't have actual access to these books, it's like, I'm just gonna trust what people are putting on the internet, I guess. But it's like the only place you can find these things, really. It's like, oh, am I gonna like trust this or not? Like, what options do I have? I'm just gonna go with it, and then verify. But as I was reading, this one poem really spoke to me, the one I sung here, because it talks about a song, and the writer is asking himself, what am I hearing? What is this song? Where is it coming from? And as I read that, I felt this urge to do something with these words. As I was thinking about the concept of the Silk Road, ancestors, all of these things, I read the poem and I was like, this is it. So we started improvising on some Persian traditional dasgahs with Arash, my collaborator, and came upon this one melody that worked really, really well. And the words really just sat on the melody and just worked. We're like, not gonna touch that. Let's go down to the field. So the poem talks about the song, and I really this project was really personal for me because I was really moving at that time. I was like, okay, this is the last project I'm doing in my country, and I'm saying goodbye. So the song felt like I was hearing a song. I was hearing like something calling me. I didn't know what was gonna happen when I moved. I didn't know why I was moving. I was just like, this is something that I need to do. And it changed a lot of things in my life, but I followed it. And I feel like that's such a thing with like what happened in the Silk Road and how it formed our musical traditions, culture, food, like everything just flew back and forth, and just created all these like merging things. Mm-hmm. It was so beautiful. And of course, at that time, I'm like not thinking that clearly because I'm like, like sick. And I'm just like, let's do this. But now that I look back at it, I'm like, oh, this was something that was meant to be. And I was just, I was just channeling the thing that needed to happen. So yeah, we tried it one time in the field. It started raining, of course. It starts raining, right? It got really cloudy, it got really dark. And then we were like, okay, this is not gonna happen, let's move. And we started moving the things in the car, and as I'm like moving, I see the wheels of my car just sinking into the ground. This is perfect, thank you. So we were just hollering to the farmers around, help, need to move. Really funny actually. But yeah, we got out. I was really thinking that this is not gonna happen. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give up, I guess. But the next day, the sun came out and the field looked gorgeous. And we did it again, and here it is, you see it. Yeah. I'm really grateful to just be a part of this project because it's so necessary to for these kinds of projects to exist. For us all to remember how important it is for us to talk to each other, to listen to each other, and to really realize that we are all the same. So, yeah, very magical, and really glad that I can be here today, experience it for the first time. It doesn't matter how much we talked about it, just walking through the gallery space, I felt so vulnerable. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. Like just the power of it is insane. And I hope you feel the same way and you enjoy it. I think I said all the things I wanted to say. Yay!
So we will just conclude here, and then maybe have some time for Q&A. But we did want to talk about the fact that it's taken 8 years, and it's taken 8 years, and it's really momentous in numerous ways for us. I mean, just personally, what we've experienced in our separate lives, and I mean, there are losses and illnesses, and then globally. So, you know, a project that started off as challenging censorship. Well, so, hello, welcome. Yeah, so in terms of, you know, the kind of porosity of all of us, humans at any point, is astounding, and that I think if we keep it in mind, it's maybe we'll all behave a little better, treat each other a little better. But yes, it's stunning what transpires in 8 years. And it also, I think it's humbling too, because, you know, it's not, it's very, it's a very fine edge. Anyway, I won't say anything more, in case anyone's listening.
We love you.
Okay, thanks everyone. Is there? So I think we have time for a little Q&A. So.
Yeah, I'm just waiting.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It all went very fast in my mind. I got a lot of it. But can you go back to your origins? How you started it 8 years ago?
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
I don't know. I just.
Yeah. Well, Arzu and I had been talking about collaborating for a long time.
Okay.
And had been bouncing around ideas, you know, in a very leisurely way, with lots of time in between. And I think leading up to it, I'd been working on, well, you know, if you, I mean, we're both invested in looking at social justice, social issues in our artwork, but I had been looking at sites of trauma, for instance, former genocide sites and histories of violence, and was wanting to do a more optimistic project. So we started talking about it because it's really, I mean, it's always dicey to embark on a global project when you're from one place or maybe a couple of places, but you know, this kind of, the rationale of the Silk Road is our respective ancestral homes tether the project route. Although Arzu grew up in Turkey, but I grew up in Canada. But you know, I'm the child of two people who migrated across China because of war, forced across because of war and persecution, and you know, ended up anyway ultimately via Taiwan in Canada. So anyway, we all have those histories, but it seemed to be, it made sense as a geography. So that's how it started. That's how we started focusing on the Silk Road. Silk Routes, sorry. It's called
It
Silk Routes.
actually started, well, I was visiting Buffalo 8 years ago or 9. We were having wine, and we fantasized about what if I started walking from Istanbul and Millie starts walking from Xi'an, and we meet in the middle.
Oh, it's like a,
Yeah.
Lady Abramovich and Uday. Getting divorced.
You mentioned your struggle with borders, and I think you also mentioned wanting to get to China and having some issues with getting in earlier. Can you expand on that a little bit, or how your ideas had to kind of shift around based on like global politics and current events and everything?
I was born in Turkey, so it has always been my experience, you know, visas and traveling. I'm a citizen now here, so I don't really experience anymore. However, because I was a Turkish citizen and I also have a Turkish passport, I couldn't get a visa to go to China for this research trip where we had the tickets and everything.
Yeah. There's this like every 5 years there's a national congress, I can't remember what it's called, in Beijing.
Or no. I forgot.
Yeah, I can't remember. But I think that they were politely denying anyone with a Muslim background. Yeah, so she went repeatedly to LA expecting to get the visa and it never appeared. So, but then the other thing that I mentioned, trying to work for our fifth group, which ended up being Kyrgyzstan, which is a wonderful, they were a wonderful team and a wonderful result. But originally it was, we wanted to work with a Uyghur group, and we tried really hard until I felt like I was beating my head against the wall, and it became my thing, that I needed to do, and it was just realizing that no, maybe this is not the time. We tried to work with diaspora. We were in communication with a really great contact in Almaty in Kazakhstan. He couldn't get anyone to work with him, and anyway, it's just so politically charged that I think people. I was in contact with someone in Mississauga in Ontario, and he backed out. He ended up ghosting me. I think because there's a lot of fear. There's family back in China, so that's when I realized, okay, just stop, because you just have to wise up to the situation. It's not about proving anything.
Yeah, thank you so much. And over the 8 years that you guys made this work, there's like this crazy pandemic, rise of whatever we're calling it in the U.S. now, like fascism and Trump and crackdowns and all this. Like, if there was like a recipe or suggestions, advice for working forward in an increasingly polarized world with, difficulties traveling across borders and things like that, were there like things that come to mind that might be useful going forward as we're, trying to continue our work in increasingly difficult times?
Just keep going. Just keep working. Yeah, and anywhere you go in the world, the only way, and this is way before we met Baran online. We went to Iran, but the only way to travel is to be guided. So we were kind of babysat the whole time, and we had a very strict itinerary that we had to conform to. But still, even on an official tour, you meet people and you encounter situations where, whoa, there's stuff happening. People are always working to try to change things for the good. So I think, traveling is really important, I think, but traveling and keeping your eyes open. But also disbelieving any kind of carte blanche about any culture or group of people, right? And that, we had this discussion with our publisher recently. She said, well, sometimes you go to a place and, it meets your expectations. It's like everything is the way you figured it's going to be. I said, I've never experienced that. Never. Even places that I'm more familiar with, every time I go, you are surprised. And I think that's a really good, that's an optimistic approach, to remain open to be surprised, not so you don't become judgy.
Thank you for sharing this wonderful project. And so I have a quick question about the concept of Silk Road. And so I wonder whether you can say something more about your way of using this concept in your project. I believe the 5 sites you selected, they are deliberate choice on the Asian Silk Roads.
Yeah.
Right? So I can imagine you have a different project having different other sites, in Asia or even beyond, and that choice would be deliberate. And if so, and how the way you think about Silk Road, I can think about, is more of an emphasis on culture exchange? That's one idea from Silk Road, or whether it's challenging the existing stereotypical imagination Silk Road or romanization Silk Road, especially in the West. And how does, for example, your emphasis on social justice actually intersects with this idea of Silk Road embedded in your project?
The route is, a lot of it is happenstance because of the difficulty with, connecting with people who would work with us, who could work with us. But it did start as hitting the usual targets, like the usual kind of expected places, like Bukhara, Samarkand, the Osh area, in Fergana Valley, Xi'an, of course, formerly Chang'an, Istanbul, formerly Constantinople. So starting with that kind of standardized, concept of the Silk Road, but then using that to then disrupt the expectations. Because now it's called Silk Routes, more accurately, and it's like a much more complex set of, not even set, it's just like much more a complex, organic, complex of marine and land and et cetera. But, that's why quoting Valerie Hansen was really important for us for the book, because she talks about the fact that it developed organically, and it wasn't about the big caravans, that's the kind of glorified, sexy version, but actually it was just very everyday, it was just people trying to eke out an existence. They had to get away from something, they were seeking better opportunities. It shows that it hasn't changed, really. Like if you think about today's migration. So, did you want to? Okay, moving up.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Is it a 2-lane blacktop most of the way? It looks just like an inevitable.
Yeah, that highway is between Kashgar and Pakistan, actually. So that's a pretty main thoroughfare. But there's still a lot of small
Raw spots,
routes.
yeah.
Not camels, but small routes. You can get the camels in the kind of Disneylandified parts.
Or donkeys.
Or donkeys.
Well, I've heard the phrase geography is destiny, which I always wondered how you would interpret that. As we were thinking of people moving and having destinies and moving through geographic spaces.
Yeah, well, we're tied to the land we're on.
Yeah.
So for sure, in terms of, and the attendant cultures and political system. Yeah, it's. I don't know about destiny. I don't know if I would agree with that, because you can leave, you can refuse to cooperate.
It's not manifest destiny.
Everybody can leave.
No, that's true. It's been a while. I don't remember what the structure is.